Imagine waking up, starting your day with a familiar routine, completely unaware that your life is about to change forever. This was the reality for Abu Anas al-Libi on the morning of October 5, 2013. What seemed like an ordinary day in Tripoli, Libya, was about to be shattered by the swift and decisive actions of the U.S. Delta Force commandos. Welcome to the Shadows Network, your go-to source for all things espionage, covert operations, and the untold stories of the world's most secretive missions. Today, we dive deep into the thrilling capture of Abu Anas al-Libi, a high-ranking Al-Qaeda operative, whose apprehension was the result of years of meticulous intelligence gathering and relentless pursuit by U.S. forces. Stay with us as we unravel the details of this daring raid and its aftermath. It was pre-dawn on a quiet Saturday morning in Tripoli. Abu Anas al-Libi was going about his day just like any other. He had no way of knowing that the calm of the morning was about to be violently interrupted. Al-Libi, a wanted man for his involvement in the 1998 bombings of the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, had been on the run for years, evading capture with the help of his network and the chaotic environment in post-Gaddafi Libya. The U.S. intelligence community had been tracking al-Libi for over a decade. His capture was a high priority, and every piece of information was scrutinized to pinpoint his exact location. Through a combination of human intelligence, electronic surveillance, and cooperation with international allies, they finally located him in Tripoli. On that fateful morning, al-Libi followed his usual routine. Shortly after 6:30 a.m., he returned home from his morning prayers, driving the familiar route back to his modest home. He had no idea that he was being watched and followed. As al-Libi parked his car in front of his house, he likely thought about the mundane tasks that lay ahead for the day. The air was crisp, and the streets were relatively quiet. Unbeknownst to him, the shadows moved with precision. U.S. Delta Force commandos, masters of covert operations, had been lying in wait, following, watching his every move, and meticulously planning his capture. Suddenly, 4 vans with tinted windows converged in the comfortable Noflien neighborhood in northeast Tripoli. As his wife watched with alarm from a window, the men, armed with silencer-equipped weapons, some masked and some not, smashed his car window. He had spent 15 years on the run, with a $5 million reward on his head. Yet, within less than a minute, U.S. Delta Force commandos captured him outside his home in Tripoli. Within moments, they disappeared into the darkness, taking with them one of America's most wanted terror suspects. The capture of Abu Anas al-Libi appeared to come off without a hitch. He was driving a black Hyundai Sport utility vehicle to his 3-story house when the 4 vans rushed in from 3 directions. Al-Libi's son, Abdullah, who was in the house at the time, described the scene. The wife of the Qaeda suspect heard the commotion and watched from the window as about 10 armed men surrounded the car. "They smashed his car window," Abdullah said in an interview. 2 Libyans among the group ordered his father to get into the minivan, which had a sliding side door. "What's going on? What do you want?" a startled Abu Anas asked, raising his voice apparently to alert the family inside the house. The Libyans told him to get inside the vehicle. There was no shooting, and al-Libi was not carrying a weapon. "They were all new vehicles with no license plates," Abdullah added, expressing outrage at what the Libyan government called an abduction. To the United States, Abu Anas al-Libi was an Al-Qaeda computer expert who helped conduct surveillance on the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi, Kenya, ahead of the 1998 bombings there and in Tanzania that killed more than 200 people. He was indicted in 2000 for those attacks and for conspiring with Osama bin Laden to attack American forces in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Somalia. Al-Libi's journey into extremism began in the 1980s, when he joined the Mujahideen in Afghanistan as a young man. After the war, he became part of a group of fighters from Libya, who formed the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, aiming to overthrow Colonel Gaddafi. In 1993, he moved to Sudan. During this period, al-Libi is suspected of conducting reconnaissance on the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi. Exiled from Libya, Sudan was the only place that would accept his family. In 1996, al-Libi moved his family to Britain, receiving asylum as a political dissident. They settled in Manchester, and he worked in a pizza business. After the 1998 embassy bombings, al-Libi came under investigation by British authorities, who found an 18-chapter terrorist training manual in his apartment. In 1999, the family headed to Afghanistan, where the Taliban were in power. They settled in Kabul, but the September 11th terrorist attacks sent them on the move again. After some months in Pakistan, they headed to Iran. However, Iran was reaching out to the United States and collaborating on intelligence in Afghanistan, leading to the entire family's detention by Iranian intelligence. After nearly a decade in Iranian custody, the women and children were eventually allowed to leave. From there, they returned to Tripoli. When Abu Anas al-Libi reunited with his wife and children, he knew he was still a wanted man. Despite Libyan authorities informing a UN committee in December 2010 that al-Libi was living in Tripoli and even providing his address, he had not been apprehended until now due to the delicate security situation in much of Libya. Ex-jihadists, particularly those from the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, held considerable sway following the ouster of longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi. As the convoy raced through Tripoli's darkened streets, al-Libi was subdued and disoriented. The commandos had executed the operation flawlessly, ensuring no harm came to civilians and minimizing the risk of a firefight. They communicated in hushed tones, their actions synchronized and deliberate. The Pentagon said the U.S. military was holding al-Libi in a secure location outside Libya. He had been initially taken to a secret location in Tripoli before being prepared for transfer to the USS San Antonio, stationed off the Libyan coast. This amphibious transport dock ship had been prepared for his arrival, its crew briefed on the high-value detainee they were about to receive. The helicopter ride from the secret location to the USS San Antonio was tense, with al-Libi guarded closely by the Delta Force commandos. The roar of the helicopter blades and the howling wind created an intense atmosphere. Al-Libi, bound and blindfolded, was beginning to feel the gravity of the situation. The commandos remained silent, focused on ensuring the successful completion of their mission. On board the USS San Antonio, al-Libi was held in a secure area, guarded around the clock. There, a team of officials from the FBI, the CIA, and other intelligence agencies would grill him for intelligence on Al-Qaeda. The US government had orchestrated this operation with precision, ensuring that one of the most dangerous terrorists would finally face justice. The capture of Abu Anas al-Libi was not just a triumph for the US military, but also a crucial step in the ongoing fight against terrorism. Interrogations and intelligence gathered from al-Libi would potentially lead to further operations against al-Qaeda cells worldwide. Authorities began to sift through the data, looking for connections and uncovering plots. The investigation into al-Libi's activities and contacts intensified, as every detail he provided could save countless lives. As the news of al-Libi's capture spread, emotions ran high. For the families of the victims of the 1998 embassy bombings, this was a moment of vindication. The haunting images of destruction and loss were juxtaposed with the footage of al-Libi's capture, creating a powerful narrative of justice and retribution. The Libyan interim government, however, called al-Libi's capture a kidnapping due to the lack of an extradition treaty between Libya and the United States. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry disputed this, describing al-Libi as a key al-Qaeda figure and a legal and appropriate target. After arriving in the U.S., al-Libi was transferred to New York City, where he faced federal charges in a Manhattan courtroom. The legal proceedings were significant, given the high-profile nature of his case and the long-standing search for justice for the victims of the embassy bombings. During the legal process, al-Libi's health deteriorated. He had long-standing health issues, including liver cancer, and his condition worsened while in custody. Abu Anas al-Libi's trial never reached a conclusion. He passed away on January 2, 2015, in a New York hospital from complications related to his medical condition, just days before his trial was set to begin. His death left many questions unanswered and denied the victims and their families the full measure of justice they had sought for years. This operation highlighted the complexities of international law and the delicate balance between national security and sovereignty. While the US saw al-Libi's capture as a legal and necessary action to prevent further terrorist activities, the Libyan interim government viewed it as a breach of their national jurisdiction, raising questions about the limits of extraterritorial actions in counter-terrorism efforts. Now, we would like to hear from you. Do you think the benefits of capturing terrorists like al-Libi outweigh the potential international backlash? Or do they create more problems than they solve? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching the Shadows Network. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more captivating stories of espionage and covert operations. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest content. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will delve into another thrilling story of shadowy operations.